Coming up now on Animal Outtakes, this mesmerizing creature has captivated us. And we like to think this solitary species gives all those charismatic mammals a run for their money.
So I will provide toys that they can manipulate and solve to open to find their food because they're very food motivated and it uses their intelligence at the same time.
And we find out we live in the only place in the world where these two species cohabitate. Lucky us! Plus a little lesson on Francis, a rehab bird of prey who's one of North America's largest species of owl.
These guys, a lot of people think that they can turn their heads all the way in a circle. Unfortunately, that is a myth. They do have a spine.
This and much more straight ahead on Animal Outtakes. The octopus. It's a top predator who can change color and texture almost instantaneously. It's a highly intelligent creature with the ability to adapt easily. Biologists at Mote Marine in Sarasota are getting creative, working to keep these curious animals engaged.
Right now we're behind the scenes with our octopus. We have two species here at Mote right now. One of them is a common octopus. They're found all throughout the Caribbean and the Keys and along Florida. We call it our holding octopus, so it's a newer animal. We're getting it more used to having people walk past and us interacting with its exhibit. I love octopus because they're extremely intelligent. People think that usually it's only animals with spine, like, charismatic mammals are the really smart ones, but octopus are really good at solving puzzles. So in the wild, they're using their really smart brain to hunt and to be able to find their food. But in the aquarium, we don't give our animals live prey because it's not as safe for both the animal it's eating and for its own health. So I provide what I call environmental enrichment. So that's what we kind of call our puzzle toy wall. So I will provide toys that they can manipulate and solve to open to find their food because they're very food motivated and it uses their intelligence at the same time. So I'm putting some shrimp in here. So with enrichment, I usually start out with wiffle balls, and as they become good at solving it, I'll kind of add these baby rings around it to make it a little more difficult for it to get the food out. And so the octopus will do essentially what I just did, just in reverse. So it just has to figure out how it can work to pull the shrimp out of the holes. And sometimes they'll pull out all of the rings before they pull the food out. One thing that's especially cool about their arms is that if they lose a portion off the end, they can actually regrow them. Or if a sucker gets injured or ripped off or whatever when it's hunting, it can regrow those as well. When we first got it, it would hide a lot in the corners, so it's really nice to see that it has gotten a lot more comfortable in its environment and it comes out and kind of observes us a lot more. And it's always a fine balance of having puzzles that are hard for them to solve, but not so difficult that they'll just give up on them entirely. Octopus in general are a very solitary species, so they aren't interacting with other animals. So they interact a lot more with their environment. So that's what I provide in different changes. Out in the wild, they would be moving around, they would be in different areas of the ocean, but since they're in one location here, I have to do lots of different things for them. And these guys, because they are invertebrates, they are a lot more susceptible to abrupt changes in the ocean. So I have to be really careful in that I maintain really healthy, clean water for them to live in. They do not have bones, so they're what is called an invertebrate, so they don't have any skeleton like we do. The only rigid part on their body is their beak, so they have kind of like a bird beak. So that's the only hard part on them, so they can squeeze really tight into really tiny areas. They're pretty generalist feeders. They'll eat just about anything meaty, so here at the aquarium we feed them shrimp, silversides, squid. I feed them whole clams that they will pull apart because they have really strong arms, and then I also do mussels and occasionally crab as well. I love seeing them solve new puzzles. I think it's really cool and that a lot of people forget how smart they are. So I will provide jars, I'll provide tubes that they have to pull apart. I do a lot of like preschool toys almost, so it's fun to hear people's responses to them. So I like to do Legos, and Mr. Potato Head is a popular one as well. The one that we have on exhibit right now is called a day octopus. So they're another really cool animal that's found over in the Pacific Ocean, and they are day hunters. So a lot of times octopus aren't very active in aquariums because they generally are night hunters, and obviously we have lights on during the day when the aquarium's open. But our Hawaiian day octopus hunts during the day, so it's generally a lot more active and moving around its exhibit a lot more. But usually I like to think it's coming over to say hello, but it's probably coming over to see if I have food. And this species is a lot smaller, so this is actually a full-grown animal. And this one, we believe, is about 8 months old. The sad thing about octopus is that they don't live very long. They're super cool, and I love them a lot, but typically the smaller species, like our common octopus that we have, they typically only live 10 to 12 months, so they don't live very long, so they get a lot done in that short amount of time. The Legos have shrimp in between, so they have to figure out how to pull apart the Legos to get at the food in the middle. So it already pulled apart a couple of them. I love them, they're so cool. So that's their main way of sensing, so they'll kind of feel around and they can actually taste and feel with each of their suckers. So one of the things I like to say is when they're touching us, they can actually taste the difference between us. So you can kind of just briefly grab onto them. He's a little distracted because it wants food, but even though it's a pretty small animal, it has a pretty good amount of tug. Octopus are an extremely important part of the environment because they're generally a top predator. So not a lot eats octopus. There are some things like some seals will eat them as well, but generally they'll eat a lot of the smaller fish, they'll eat a lot of the smaller crustaceans. So when they aren't around, there can be a big swell of those smaller animals that can kind of choke out and take out other animals. So this is cleaning. So they kind of will rub their suckers against the other parts of their arms, now that he's stopped, of course. But they will actually slough off all of their outer layer of sucker skin, and it helps them still have really strong grip on everything around them. It also helps them heal themselves, so if they get injured or if sucker gets injured as they slough that skin, it kind of heals it and reinvigorates the sucker's strength. They can change their color really drastically. They can change their color and their texture almost instantaneously. So it's interesting to see whenever I'm working in the system or if I'm feeding them, they will kind of flash through a bunch of different colors and textures. The eyes are kind of what I call like the top of their body cavity. So behind their eye is kind of that bulbous area. That's where all of their organs are. So that back area is what we call their mantle. So you can see them breathing. They breathe through a siphon. I would not recommend octopus as pets because they don't have a very long lifespan. They can be difficult to maintain their mental stimulation, kind of keep them mentally active. It requires a lot of work. I think the face-to-face interactions are a lot stronger versus looking at something through a screen. Similar to how face-to-face interactions with people are a lot stronger than, say, talking over the phone or FaceTiming. It really establishes a much stronger connection. Especially when it's maybe an animal that you wouldn't see as often, like an octopus, they're generally found a little deeper. So even people that have gone to the beach a lot, they probably haven't seen an octopus unless they've come to an aquarium.
An interesting defense mechanism that octopuses have, spraying ink, sort of like a smokescreen, to avoid becoming prey. All octopus are venomous, but there's only one of a few considered fatal to humans. The blue-ringed octopus is said to be one of the most dangerous animals in the ocean. It has super powerful venom, 1,000 times more powerful than cyanide. It's native to the Pacific Ocean and can be found in coral reefs and tide pools. Good news, it isn't aggressive and won't likely bite a human unless handled or threatened. So keep your hands to yourself. Coming up next, an American crocodile, up close. Troy Lillie is back to teaching us the differences between crocs and gators. And yes, there's one place in the U.S. where you can find both. Can you guess where that is? Stick around, there's more animal outtakes after the break.
I think something happened to my family. I'm scared and lonely. What's going to happen to me now?
Don't worry, Sonny. Our loving staff at Dante's Den will take care of all your pet needs for the rest of your life. A warm bed, toys, great food, walking, and swimming is all at your paw tips. And if you get sick, there is even a hospital and medical staff to help you get well. Dante's Den, continuing the love.
You love your dog, but is he hard to handle? Barking, biting, jumping, chewing, hard to walk? Is your dog aggressive? Have you tried everything and nothing worked? I'm Will Thomas. Dogs are my passion. I can help you with your dog. My methods are so unique, I only need one session in your home. To learn more, look at my website, willthomasdogwhisperer.com, or call me at 941-377-0243. I can help you fast.
These last few months have been challenging for everyone, especially me. I've walked many, many miles. I learned new tricks. I lost my afternoon nap time. I've stayed up many nights watching movie after movie after movie. I'm suffering from cabin fever. I'm in need of a renewed spirit.
Dante's Den is the perfect boarding solution for your dog, whether it's an overnight, short, or extended stay. Dante's offers the convenience, amenities, and overall luxury your pet is seeking. Spacious, air-conditioned dens have private patios, overlooking scenic pool and lakeside views, a sparkling pool with fountains to play in, surrounded by chase loungers and a staff that will cater to their every wish. To make a boarding reservation for your pup, call us at 941-219-3730. Troy, we've always watched you bring alligators to us and some crocodiles, but this is a native crocodile.
This is a native crocodile. This is Grace. This is an American crocodile. She was born down in Zoo, Miami, and she is one of our ambassador animals that we use. We have crocodiles here in Florida, known as the American crocodile, the Crocodilius acutus, or Crocodilus acutus, however you want to pronounce that. And they live down in South Florida. You can see them down through Flamingo, all through the Keys. So when you're down there enjoying your margarita and floating around, there's crocodiles under you. I always thought that was cool.
Yeah. Now, obviously with these crocodiles, you see all the little teeth. They are everywhere, from the snout all the way back.
Well, one of the differences between crocodiles and alligators is the skinny snout. And alligators have an overbite. So you'll never see the bottom teeth of an alligator. On crocodiles, you see the bottom and the top. So you see all those rows of teeth and then up and down. Now she is really, really, really sweet. She doesn't make any attempt to bite. She's not a mean animal, and so I will not tape her. I don't hand her off to anybody because, you know, you never want to take the chance, but we don't have to do anything unnecessary.
Now she has the most beautiful green eyes.
Yes, aren't they cool?
They're
like
they're mesmerizing.
Look at that.
Yeah, they're mesmerizing. Now, how old is she?
She is going to be 3 years old now, I think, right? About three.
About three.
Yeah, about three. 2 or 3 years
You're
old
a
now.
baby.
Yep.
Yeah.
And here's one cool thing about this in Florida. The only place in the entire world this happens is Florida. Crocodiles live with alligators.
I was going to ask you, can they cohabitate?
Only place in the world that happens is Florida. The only place in the world.
How and why?
Because the only place in the world that we have alligators is in America, and a large group of them in Florida, obviously up through the Panhandle and all the way up into the Alabama, etc. But down in South Florida, these are native, down to the very, very far islands of South Florida, like the Keys area, Flamingo, the Everglades, all through that area down there. And there are alligators there too, so they do cohabitate together. Yep, they sure do.
Now, do they ever kind of get in each other's hair, so as to speak?
I would assume there's been a few. I would just, as an assumption, yes. There's been some crossovers, I'm sure, and who's ever the bigger guy is going to win that. So if it's a bigger alligator, he's going to run the croc out. If it's a bigger croc, he's going to run the alligator
Now,
out.
she's 3, and how long would you say she is?
She's about 26 inches.
Okay.
Right now, 26.7, I think. I think
So
was what we talked about.
is she going to grow?
She's growing pretty fast, and yes, she's going to grow. They don't get quite as big as the males. I know there's water over there and you want to swim. They don't get as big as the males do, but they get good size. So, you know, these animals can reach a good 14 feet, 13, 14 feet plus.
Now, again, we talk about the pet trade, the legal pet trade.
Yep.
What about these guys? Are they involved?
These are an endangered species, so this is not something that you're allowed to sell. You can acquire them if you already have them, or if somebody gives one to you, if you have the proper permits. If you have a Class 1 crocodilian permits and someone chooses to give you a crocodile, because they have them legally, they can. But I'm not sure, and I don't want to quote it, but I don't think you can sell these. I don't think you can sell these.
But let's go into that license that you talk about
Yes,
very,
ma'am.
very quickly.
Yes, ma'am.
This is not just something that you get on the internet and you put
Absolutely
your
not.
name on an application, send in a check, and you are licensed.
Correct. That is not how that works. How that works is, if you wanted to possess a crocodile, Marcia, you would have to spend 1,000 hours with this animal. And so you would have to go donate your time to a zoological park, a breeding facility, or so on and so forth, where they would have crocodiles. And you have to get 1,000 hours under your belt. Then you need to apply with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission. And that's where it comes in.
And we could always come and work with you.
You sure can. I have plenty of crocodiles for everybody.
Now, lifespan is?
Well, I think they can live up there about, I think there's a few of them that lived over 100 years from what we were reading about. But yeah, you're talking about an animal that lives 60, 70, 80 years. Yep. These are big. They're dinosaurs. They live a long time. 80 years.
So many times we have asked you, how do these animals fit into the ecosystem? So I have to ask you again, are they really important? Do we really need them?
Yes, crocodiles are very valuable to any ecosystem they're in. They clean up the rivers, they hunt, they keep other populations of wildlife down. Just like alligators are scavengers, things die off or what they hunt and kill. Everything has a place. So crocodiles are just as critical to the ecosystem as a frog, a bird of prey, or any type of wild native snake, etc. They're just valuable, probably more valuable than we are to the ecosystem.
Coming up next on Animal Outtakes, one of North America's largest owl species, found right here in Florida. And this ambassador has come a long way. We'll be right back.
These last few months have been challenging for everyone, especially me. I've walked many, many miles. I learned new tricks. I lost my afternoon nap time. I've stayed up many nights watching movie after movie after movie. I'm suffering from cabin fever. I'm in need of a renewed spirit.
Dante's Den is the perfect boarding solution for your dog, whether it's an overnight, short, or extended stay. Dante's offers the convenience, amenities, and overall luxury your pet is seeking. Spacious, air-conditioned dens have private patios, overlooking scenic pool and lakeside views, a sparkling pool with fountains to play in, surrounded by chaste loungers and a staff that will cater to their every wish. To make a boarding reservation for your pup, call us at 941-219-3730. Well, we've got quite a creature here.
We do.
And he just keeps turning his head around. Who have we got?
So this here is Francis, and Francis is a great horned owl. Now you can kind of start off and see that he's doing all that head turning and things like that. So these guys are one of North America's largest owl species. These guys can be found right here in pretty much all of the United States, and then up into Canada, and then down into Central America. So these guys are pretty common here. You can find these guys right here in Florida. Now, one of the biggest things that you notice about an owl is going to be their eyes and their head movement. Now, these guys, a lot of people think that they can turn their heads all the way in a circle. Unfortunately, that is a myth. They do have a spine, but the reason that they're able to do that is because they have about 14 vertebrae in their neck, where humans and even giraffes only have 7. So they're able to turn about 270 degrees, so that's about straight back. Then humans can do about 180 degrees. Now, the reason that they're having to do that is because of their eyes.
And the most beautiful green eyes that we have here.
They do. So these guys are primarily nocturnal. So at nighttime, those eyes are going to be, the pupil's going to get really, really large, and you're going to see more black than you are green. But during the day, their pupils are going to be very tiny. These guys have excellent eyesight. Now their eyes are actually fixated in their skulls, so they're not able to move their eyes in their heads like we are. If humans were to have eyes the size of owls, we would have like softballs, so like palm-sized eyes, which would be crazy.
So because of those eyes, that's why we're getting the neck movement,
Yes.
so that they really can see behind them.
Yes.
But would you say their eyesight is the strongest sense?
Yes, so definitely their eyesight and their hearing are going to be their top senses. Birds of prey are like an owl here, they actually can't smell. So they don't have the olfactory bulb to be able to smell what's going on around them, so they're going to have to use all those other senses. So you can see on the top of his head there, he has those little fluffs. Those are called ear tufts. Those aren't actually his ears. His ears are on the side of his head, just like ours. They just don't have those flaps.
But the ears are small. I would expect them to be much larger.
Yes, their ears are only about that big if you look at them. They're just covered by all of those feathers. But what those ear tufts do is they help them with camouflage. You can see that their coloration is perfect for a forest. So what they're going to do is when they're up in the trees, they're going to stick their ear tufts up. Also, it helps channel those noises down into the ears so that they're able to hear what's going on around them.
So we will find these in Sarasota, Florida.
You
Really?
will, yes.
And what is their life expectancy?
So these guys can live well up into their 20s in human care, maybe even longer. Francis here, he's estimated to be around 10 years old. We don't really know. We weren't there when he was hatched. He was a rehabbed animal. So he was actually shot by a farmer. So he is missing a portion of his wing. So he was deemed non-releasable by the state. That is why Francis lives here, because he cannot fly.
We have visited with you people for so many years, and we love our visits, and you talk about the rehab. So you're well known, we know, in the state of Florida to take these animals and rehab. How enriching is that to you?
To me, it's great. I love being able to take those animals and care for them, knowing that they would not be able to survive in the wild. It really makes me happy, and it's really good because you're able to use these guys as ambassadors and you're able to teach people. It's so exciting to see a little kid get so happy when they see an owl for the first time, because a lot of times when people come to zoos, this is the first time that they're able to see animals up close like this. I mean, you're sitting less than a foot away from a great horned owl, which is amazing for people.
And we do watch all of your special bonds. You have your favorites.
We do.
And they bond with you.
They do. A lot of our animals, they know us. They see us every day of the year. So we're here through hurricanes, storms, holidays, all of that. So they do build relationships with us, some more than others. Francis here, he doesn't really like us, but we do work with him, and he works with us. He does work better for some people, but not the same as like a macaw or something like that.
But on behalf of Francis and all the other animals, they're thanking you, the staff of Jungle Guide.
Yes.
Yeah. Stay with us. There's more animal outtakes coming up next. Animal Outtakes is produced by Dante's Den Foundation, a nonprofit group dedicated to creating the best life for dogs. If you would like to learn more about Dante's Den, donate, or volunteer, visit our website, dantesden.org. We hope you had fun and learned a thing or two along the way. We'll be back here again next week with even more animals and some wild adventures. Until then, thanks for watching.
It's flaps.
Close,
Yes.
but not on target. Working to keep these curious
Cephalopods. Cephalopods. Cephalopods.
cephalopods.
Cephalopods.
Working to keep these curious cephalopods. Give me another word. Working to keep these curious,
Animals.
an interesting defense mechanism that octopuses have. Octopuses?
Octopus have.
An interest. How do you make an octopus laugh? By giving it 10 tickles.